Unraveling, Part 2. I awoke miles away, my body aching, my mind pulsing with an unnatural resonance. The presence did not recede. It lingered, like an unseen weight pressing against my thoughts, stirring something ancient and primal within me. I had spent years unraveling history's secrets, but this was different. This was history refusing to remain silent. Disoriented and weak, I stumbled through the shifting sands, my thoughts a fractured mess of half-formed realizations and gnawing dread. The air was thick with the scent of sun-scorched earth and distant, shifting sands. The dry heat pressed against my skin like a suffocating shroud, and the wind carried with it a low, mournful howl that seemed almost like a whisper in an ancient tongue. Tiny grains of sand stung against my exposed flesh, driven by unseen currents that moved as though they had purpose. Every breath tasted of dust and something metallic, a faint tang that lingered on my tongue like the memory of blood. Shadows stretched unnaturally long under the pale glow of the moon, twisting like grasping fingers in my peripheral vision. The wind howled across the dunes, carrying whispers that were not quite words, but something older, something knowing. Every step I took felt like I was trespassing, my heartbeat sinking with the deep, rhythmic hum that had seeped into my bones. The stars above seemed too sharp, too watchful, as though they bore witness to my intrusion and would remember me for it. The markings on my skin burned as if they had been seared there, though I had no recollection of how they came to be. I told myself it was exhaustion, heat stroke, a waking dream conjured by the ruins and the weight of my obsession. But deep down, I knew better. Back in the safety of a rented room in Riyadh, I locked the door, drew the blinds, and examined myself under the flickering light. The symbols traced across my arms and chest in patterns I could almost understand, as though recognition hovered just beyond my reach. They pulsed under my skin, not like ink but like something alive, shifting when I looked away. I scrubbed at them until my skin was raw. They remained. The next morning, I boarded the first flight out of Saudi Arabia. I told myself I would forget. But even as I tried, a small, insidious part of me resisted. The knowledge had taken root, spreading like an infection through my thoughts. I wanted to turn away, to erase it from my mind, but another part of me, deeper and more ancient, whispered that I had seen something important. Something I was never meant to forget. That I would bury my research, delete my files, and let it become another unsolved mystery lost to time. I almost succeeded. At first, it was nothing more than a vague unease, a persistent feeling of being watched, of shadows stretching too long under flickering streetlights. I dismissed it as paranoia, a lingering side effect of exhaustion and fear. But then, the nights became heavier, filled with whispers just beneath the threshold of comprehension. And then the dreams began. They started as fragments, half-remembered glimpses of towering structures that defied geometry, great spires that bent toward an impossible sky. I saw figures moving without moving, their outlines shifting like mirages. They had no eyes, and yet I felt their gaze. I heard a whispering chorus in a language older than words, filling my mind with meanings I could not comprehend but somehow understood. Each night, the dreams grew clearer. I was no longer just an observer. I was walking the streets of a city that did not exist, tracing the sigils carved into obsidian walls, my fingers remembering what my mind did not. The air was thick, electric, humming with the same resonance I had felt in the ruins. The city was alive, and it was waiting. Sleep became an impossibility. Every time I closed my eyes, I returned to that place. My body ached with exhaustion, my thoughts frayed at the edges. But worse than the dreams were the voices. They did not speak in words but in concepts, thoughts that were not my own taking root in my mind. They were showing me something, teaching me. And I was beginning to understand. The architects had not vanished. They had not been destroyed. They had merely stepped aside. time, for them, was not linear. Their dominion over the earth had never truly ended. It had simply been paused, hidden beneath the layers of human civilization, waiting for the right moment to resume. The ruins I had uncovered were not remnants of a lost civilization. They were seeds planted in the fabric of our world, waiting for something to wake them. And I had woken them. I could feel it now, in the bones of the earth, in the rhythm of my own heartbeat. It was neither pain nor pleasure, but something stranger, an unsettling resonance that vibrated through my core. A creeping euphoria mixed with dread, a sense of belonging to something vast and indifferent. My body tingled with an alien awareness, as if I were being tuned to a frequency not meant for human minds. It was beautiful, and it was terrifying. A great cycle, turning, resetting. The unraveling had begun again, and I was caught in its current. I abandoned my work, my home, my name. It wasn't just fear that drove me, it was the unbearable certainty that I no longer belonged. My research had consumed me, and now it had marked me. Every connection I had to the world felt fragile, artificial, like paper-thin veils barely concealing something vast and unseen. I left behind my books, my notes, the life I had built, knowing I could never return. There was no place for me among the ignorant anymore, and yet, I wished more than anything to be ignorant again. I could not stay in one place for long, they would find me. Not men, not any agency or organization, but the ones who walked outside time. The ones who had waited in the forgotten corners of the world for millennia, unseen, patient. The ones who now whispered in my thoughts, pulling me towards something I was no longer certain I could resist. The symbols on my skin had begun to spread. At first, I watched in horror as they expanded, dark tendrils crawling over my flesh like living ink. But then came fascination, a terrible, consuming awe. The patterns shifted when I moved, responding to my thoughts as if they had a will of their own. I felt a strange pull toward them, a connection that defied explanation. Fear and wonder warred within me, each growing stronger with every passing hour. What was I becoming? I no longer needed sleep to see the city. It was here, overlapping with reality in ways I could not explain. Reflections in glass showed streets that did not exist. Shadows moved against the light, following patterns I recognized but could not name. I could hear the hum beneath my feet in every city, in every town, in every place humans had built their fragile monuments to permanence. It was all temporary. I understood now. We were never the first. We were never meant to last. And the ones who came before were stirring once more. I do not know how much longer I can hold on to my mind. This morning, I caught myself writing in a language I do not know, my hands moving of their own accord. My reflection lags behind my movements, watching me with an awareness that is not mine. Each thought I have feels like an echo, as if my mind is no longer the only one occupying my body. I feel them reaching through me, rewriting me, reshaping me into something that can serve their purpose. I try to resist, but the memories are not mine. The thoughts are not mine. Soon, I fear, I will not be mine. If you find this, if my words still hold meaning, know this: history is not what we believe. The world is not what we have built. We are merely the caretakers of something far older, something vast and incomprehensible. And now, they are returning. I have tried to escape, but there is no hiding from something that is not bound by space or time. I boarded a flight to South America, hoping to disappear into the depths of the Amazon, but they were already there. I saw their markings carved into the ancient trees, their symbols embedded in forgotten ruins long claimed by the jungle. The hum followed me, deep in the earth, vibrating beneath my feet even in the most remote places. I could not run from them. They were everywhere. I sought answers from scholars, from shamans, from anyone who might understand what I had found. But with each encounter, my fear only deepened. The more I learned, the more I realized how little I understood. Some spoke of an ancient order dedicated to suppressing knowledge of the architects, while others warned of those who had glimpsed too much and vanished without a trace. I had set out in search of answers, but all I had found were more questions and an overwhelming sense that I was standing on the edge of something vast and inescapable. In dusty libraries, I scoured forbidden texts, hoping to find even the faintest whisper of recognition. In remote villages, I sat before elders who spoke of ancient things in hushed voices, their eyes darting nervously as if unseen forces listened. One shaman, an old man in the depths of the Peruvian jungle, simply looked at me, shook his head, and muttered a single phrase, "They have marked you. You will not escape." Many dismissed me as delusional, but a few knew. They spoke in hushed tones, fearful, telling me to let it go, to forget. But I couldn't. It was inside me now. The symbols on my skin had begun to move while I looked at them too long, shifting and rearranging, revealing meanings I was never meant to comprehend. My body was no longer my own. My thoughts, no longer safe. I began to see patterns in the world that I had never noticed before. The placement of ancient structures, the alignment of mountains, rivers, and sacred sites, it was all part of a grand design, something vast and intricate beyond human capability. The architects had never truly left. Their influence had seeped into every corner of the world, woven into our reality so subtly that we never questioned it. But now, as their cycle turned once more, they were becoming less careful. The veil was thinning. I am not the only one. There are others like me, scattered, lost, all carrying the same burden. I found one in Istanbul, a woman with the same markings, the same haunted look in her eyes. She had seen the city too, walked its impossible streets in her dreams, heard the whispers. We did not need words to understand each other, the knowledge bound us in ways deeper than language. But she was further gone than I was. When I met her, she spoke only in fragments of the old tongue, her voice layered as though many were speaking through her. And then, one morning, she was gone. No trace, no sign of struggle. Just the lingering hum in the air where she had last stood. I do not know how much longer I have. My body is changing. My mind is unraveling. I catch glimpses of myself in mirrors and do not recognize the thing staring back. I write these words while I still can, while I still exist as myself. But I know the truth now. The cycle is inevitable. The architects are awakening. And soon, we will remember what it is to be forgotten.